No one tells you this part. They talk about ambition like it's noble. They praise discipline. They reward sacrifice. But no one sits you down and tells you what success quietly takes from you while you're busy earning it. I'm 65 years old. My name is Richard Allen Morrison, and for most of my life, I believed success was proof that I was doing things right. I believed that if I worked hard enough, stayed focused enough, said yes enough times, life would eventually slow down and make room for everything else. Family, peace, connection. I thought those things were waiting for me at the finish line, so I ran. I ran through my 30s telling myself I was building something. I ran through my 40s because stopping felt dangerous. And by my 50s, I wasn't running anymore. I was just moving forward, automatically. Success is strange like that. At first, it feels loud. Meetings, deadlines, praise, pressure. Your phone never stops buzzing. People want your time, your opinion, your approval. And it feels good to be wanted. It feels like importance. But slowly, without announcing itself, success replaces something else. I started coming home later, not because I had to, because it felt normal. Dinner plates in the sink, conversations already finished, laughter that happened earlier. I'd tell myself tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow rarely was. My wife stopped asking what time I'd be home, not out of anger, out of adaptation. That's how distance forms, not through conflict, but through adjustment. My children learned to bring me their problems less often, not because they didn't trust me, because I always seemed busy carrying someone else's weight. I knew what schools they attended, what grades they got, what awards they won. I didn't always know how they were feeling. And the terrifying thing is, I didn't notice when that shift happened. Success doesn't feel like loss while it's happening. It feels like progress. The house got bigger. The office got quieter. The car got more comfortable. And somehow, the silence followed me everywhere. I told myself loneliness was just part of adulthood, that men didn't need much, that this was the price of providing. But loneliness isn't being alone. It's realizing you're surrounded by people who no longer need you the way they once did, because you taught them how to live without you. At work, people waited for my decisions. At home, life moved forward whether I was there or not. I missed things that didn't seem important at the time. School plays, Sunday mornings, long conversations that didn't have a purpose. I thought I was choosing responsibility. What I was really choosing was distance, and success kept rewarding me for it. Promotions, raises, recognition. Every reward made it harder to question the path I was on, because walking away from success feels like failure, even when it's costing you everything that matters. No one tells you that success doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives in trade-offs, little ones, invisible ones. And by the time you notice the pattern, it already feels permanent. I used to believe success meant security. Now I understand it can also mean isolation. Not because you don't love people, not because they don't love you, but because love needs time, and success is very good at convincing you that time is something you'll have later. I believed that lie for decades, and by the time I questioned it, the silence had already learned my name. There comes a moment when success goes quiet. Not all at once, not dramatically, just quieter than it used to be. For me, it happened in my early 60s. The calls slowed down, the meetings shortened. The people who once needed me suddenly had someone younger, faster, hungrier. I told myself it was fine, that this was how things were supposed to go, but something felt off. I had spent decades building a life around being needed, and now I wasn't sure who I was without that role. That's the part no one warns you about.
Success gives you identity before it takes it away. I remember sitting alone in my office one evening, long after everyone else had gone home. The lights were still on, the room was perfectly quiet. For years, I had chased that silence, dreamed of a day without noise, without urgency, and when it finally arrived, it felt hollow. I realized I had spent most of my life postponing myself, postponing conversations, postponing rest, postponing joy, always telling myself I'd earn the right to slow down later. But later doesn't feel the way you imagine. Later feels unfamiliar. The habits that once kept you moving forward don't disappear when you stop. They keep running, even when there's nowhere left to go. I tried filling the quiet with distractions, television, news, endless scrolling. But noise doesn't cure loneliness, it just delays it. What I missed wasn't excitement, it was presence. I missed being fully there, not thinking about the next thing, the next obligation, the next outcome. I missed moments that didn't need to become anything else. One afternoon, my wife asked me a simple question. What do you actually want to do now? I didn't have an answer. That scared me more than any deadline ever had. I had spent so long doing what was expected that I had forgotten how to listen to myself. That's when it became painfully clear. Success hadn't just taken my time, it had taken my awareness. I began noticing the weight of what I had postponed. Conversations that never happened, apologies that waited too long, relationships that survived but thinned. Not broken, just stretched. Some distance can be crossed again, some can't. I started making small changes, not dramatic ones, just honest ones. Leaving earlier, listening longer, choosing presence over productivity when I could, and something strange happened. The quieter my life became, the fuller it felt. Not because I was accomplishing more, but because I was finally experiencing what was already there. Here's what I've learned, and I wish I had learned it sooner. Success doesn't fail you all at once. It waits until you've built your entire life around it, and then it steps aside. And if you haven't built anything else, the emptiness feels unbearable. I don't say this to scare you. I say this because you still have time to notice what I didn't, to ask yourself difficult questions while the answers can still change something. To understand that being busy is not the same as being meaningful, and that the people you love don't need the best version of your resume. They need the present version of you. If you're listening to this and feeling uncomfortable, that's not a bad sign. That's awareness waking up. In the next video, I want to talk about something even harder to admit. Not success, not time, but the moment you realize you've become a stranger to yourself and how to find your way back before it's too late. Because understanding this now could change everything that comes after. If this story felt familiar, stay with me. There's more you need to hear.